Hey, I'm Todd. Thanks for choosing to watch my video, and if you would subscribe it, like it, all that stuff, that'd be great. Otherwise, enjoy the video, and I hope it gives you the information you need and is helpful to you. Take care. A water pump replacement on a 5.7 liter 2004 Pontiac GTO. It says LS1 right there on that intake. 5mm or 8mm or 5/16 or a flat blade screwdriver. For this, you don't need to take the air temperature sensor out. You just lay this off to the side. You have access to the belt tensioner, a 15mm. We'll rock that over and take the belt off. Then we may not have to. If you have swivel sockets, you could probably get to this bolt without taking this pulley off. But if you chose to take the pulley off, there's probably a 15mm bolt in the middle. Then we'll of course take the you do want to take the belts off before you expose it to any more coolant, if you can help it. So we'll also remove the AC belt down there, and we'll get started on it. So it looks like there's two 13mm bolts holding the tensioner on. You can take this off and maybe give you just a little better access to the AC pulley. Alright, so we got the belts out of the way. I seem to have bad luck with them, so if they have coolant on them, they're going to make noise for me, so I replaced them. Let's see here, we can take the clamps off though for the upper hose, maybe get it out of the way there, because it's attached to the water pump assembly. Got a clamp down here, obviously. You can see some stuff's been replaced, so use the pliers. And we can remove hoses. Right, that's the basic idea, of course. We'll have to turn that one so we can get access to it. It's nice to have a hose pick and get in here, and I got the time, so I chose to take off the pulley. Tried a couple different swivels. The swivels didn't really fit like I would like them to, so just be aware of this piece on the back. That's how that is right there. And then we got our three 10mm bolts here to loosen, and three 10mm bolts here to loosen. Then we can take our water pump off, I do believe. I'm going to finish taking these hoses off, and I think we can fit it right through here. I didn't even look up instructions or look at any other videos. And one little thing I did is I loosened up all the bolts on the water pump. I want the coolant to go as straight down as possible. I didn't want it jetting out to the side. Trying to minimize my mess. Just, again, one of several ways to do things, but I'm going to keep my coolant hopefully going down into my bucket as much as possible. So that's why you're seeing things still hooked up. Lower hose off. Alright, well it looks like step 3 is going to be taking off this 10mm bolt here, 10mm bolt there, and 10mm bolt down here. Take off the throttle body. Take off those 2 connectors there. And pop this hose off, maybe, or it might just be able to roll it up out of the way. And then we'll have to take this hose off as well. And this hose back here. So my instructions did not say anything about the throttle body or the cooling fan assembly, but I think that's going to be easier. Should be no tools for the throttle or the coolant assembly. Just pull these tabs back for the cooling fan assembly, one on each side. It should lift up and out. We'll be disconnecting these connectors here, although it looks like something's been cut here, so I'm not sure what you're going to see. I think it's maybe just goes all the way across. It shouldn't be a huge deal. So I'm going to squeeze this clamp, take this hose off, maybe squeeze this clamp and get this off here. Once the cooling fan's out, I should have enough room to get this up and out. So old gaskets. Push this to release. Same with this one. Got the hose off there. Here's the tabs. Pull that out and just slides in there. Same with the other side. Slides in there. Then we have easy access, and the water pump, as you saw, comes out. Probably clean these up and snap these back in then. Not going that route. We'll wipe this down, clean it up a little bit. With the type of gaskets there, they usually isn't too bad, especially on this aluminum. So we'll wipe these down a little bit. Plastic scraper maybe, clean them up, and then we'll get ready to put the new water pump on. Here's a look at the AC tensioner, idler pulley over here we took off for the water pump. So there you go. And we'll go to install it. Alright, I used a little bit of spray adhesive on the water pump on both sides, put my gaskets on, let the adhesive kind of bond a little bit. Got it balanced with some bushings here, so let this sit for a little bit, and we'll put a couple bolts through on each side, and we'll be installing the water pump with the bolts in and through, holding the gaskets in place so they don't slip out of place while installing. So we did have to take the thermostat and transfer it. We got a new rubber gasket here. Installs on the thermostat. Or maybe you get a whole thermostat assembly. Little jangle thing should be probably straight up. Got a knot. watch. Tighten this down probably to 89 inch-pounds. Alright, torque that down, 10 foot-pounds on those, and then 11 foot-pounds on the water pump for the first pass, and the second pass, tighten them to 18 foot-pounds for your torque specs. Actually got all the bolts in. We'll try and start them all by hand. The gaskets are installed there. Actually seem to be hitting right here. Is a problem. And so we'll see if we can maybe tip the front down a little bit. We don't want to lose our gaskets though either, so it's a little tricky. So we're tipping it top in first. The good thing is we can really lay eyes on the gaskets to know if they've slipped or not. They haven't. It was catching on that, so we got to tuck this underneath that hose, or you can unbolt the throttle body with those 3 10mm bolts and lift it up a smidge and make things easier on yourself. But got all the bolts started, so we're going to go to 11 foot-pounds and 18 foot-pounds for your torque. That is starting to install your water pump. The book actually would say reverse procedure to install. So we'll tighten up our bolts, put our hoses on, put the clamps on, put the hose on, put the clamp on. For the upper hose, we'll probably make sure it's nice and clean. We'll leave it off when we put our belts on. Put our pulley back on here. And get our pulley and stuff on, then we can drop our cooling fan assembly back into place. Just drop it in the slots and it should snap into place. Rehook up your electrical things and fill it with some coolant, and I'll give you some tips and other information in just a second probably. And so the water pump torque specs I'm used to are 11 and 22 foot-pounds, and actually on another section of my information it did say 11 and 22 foot-pounds for the water pump, so that's what I'd probably go with. That's what is on most trucks that I do these on, so there you go, 2 different specs. If you're still using the spring clamps, I recommend you try and get them in the same spot that they were when you took them off. You'll see indentation in the hose, so either replace the clamps or try and make sure you do your best to put them back in the same spot. Only because I've seen them leak when they're not in the exact same spot, which may just indicate a weak spring clamp, so you might want to replace them. I did not find a torque spec for the tensioner bracket or for the pulley there, so not sure. I would say somewhere between 35 and 45 foot-pounds would be a guess, but don't quote me. We'll have this snapped into place. Got our belts on. And then we'll keep plugging away here. We'll put our hose back on over here. Put the clamp on. You see the indentations on there? They're very defined. Set it back in its grooves. Plug our things back in here. Make them click, click. Yep, something was busted here because there's nowhere for this to attach. So hopefully it shouldn't give you any problems though, I'm assuming. And then we'll attach this hose. Cover. It's got these pieces here. Two separate pieces. You pull this up with the little screwdrivers or a special tool, pull this up, then you can pull it out. Just like that. The hose is on. Double check, make sure your clamps are there, everything's tight. And we'll add coolant here, a 50-50 mix of coolant. I'll kind of let you know how much I put in, kind of give you an idea how much you would expect to put in. Vacuum filled it. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, like 8 quarts, 2 gallons. Put in here. There's a cold fill mark right here. Probably fill it up there, a little bit higher maybe. Put the cap on, start it up, turn the heat on. Got the heat blowing out the vents here, temperature's on hot. Should start to feel some warmth in 5 or 10 minutes. Keep an eye on the temperature gauge there as well. If after like 5 or 10 minutes you don't feel warmth, it's darn cool still, then go ahead and step on the gas, get it up to a couple thousand RPMs, and you should be able to run it for a minute or two at 2,000 RPMs. You should probably start to feel some warm air start to circulate. If you got your 2 gallons in, basically. If you got only a gallon in and your jug's full, you might have an air pocket, so maybe run it a little bit and then shut it off and restart it after a little bit. So we'll just let this warm up. Take it for a test drive, 7 or 10 miles, get it up to operating temperature, then let it cool off, and top off the coolant as needed in the overflow jug at the cold full mark. And that would be replacing your water pump on a Pontiac GTO 5.7 liter V8.